dwell on that value bit a little bit, because the other thing you'll find is that you have an accountant who is very good at their job, who is being paid, for example, I'm just using an example, 10,000 shillings.
Yes.
You have an accountant who is even better than this one, and is being paid 5,000 shillings.
Yes.
How does one package themselves so that you have that value and you give yourself a value?
Yes. That's another good question, because a lot of people in employment are suffering. They are stuck. They don't understand why that person who isn't the best accountant is the one who got the promotion.
Right.
And here's the thing. You have to move beyond value. You have to build a personal brand. You have to be visible, okay? And what does that mean? You may be the best accountant in the world, but if no one knows you exist, it doesn't matter. You understand?
You may be winking at a girl when you're in the dark. She can't
absolutely. You have to understand it's about marketing. It's like advertising. You cannot wink at a girl in the dark and expect her to know. You must stand up and say, I am the best accountant. This is what my work says. Unfortunately, when people are in offices, they are, they try and I don't know whether it's a Kenyan culture, but we don't like to stand out. And at Centonomy, we say, especially in regards to career, you have to stand out to be counted, especially in the Kenyan economy is very competitive, especially when it comes to career-wise. So many people graduating. What's different about you? Look at your personal brand in addition to adding value, and remember, it's about who you know, not just applying maybe to jobs that have been advertised.
Explain that. When you say it's who you know, does that mean I need to have connections, especially given in a country that we're living where we have issues with tribalism, with nepotism, with networks that are not very healthy?
Yeah, I think this is very much, we've gone to the phase of our conversation when we are talking about how to make more money, specifically in the career stage. Okay, now for many people in the careers, and I would like people out there who are listening to think about this. Most of the time when you get a job or an opportunity, it's not an advertisement you've seen and then you've responded to it. Actually, only 20% of jobs are advertised. Can you imagine that? Only 20% of jobs. The other jobs are given through a friend, a referral, and when people hear this is when they look back at their career and they remember, oh, by the way, it was a friend who referred me here, or it was this, that, and the other. When I say it's about who you know, that's exactly what I mean. But not in a corrupt way. It's about relationships, building relationships with people so that even when you're not around, they can refer you to opportunities, or they can say, oh, I know someone called Michael and I think he can do that job. That's what I mean. So try and build relationships beyond your family and friends. Your next big opportunity will not come from your family or friends. It will actually come from
a network
a network and someone who is a bit outside of family and friends. So that's what we need to do in order to make more money in our careers.
All right. Let's backtrack a little bit, because we may have gone ahead of ourselves as we were
money is exciting.
It's very exciting. That much I can tell you. But now when it comes to a practical budget, how do I draw one? Because I know many of us, as I was going around the office I was actually asking, do you have a budget? Do you have somewhere where you actually list down your expenses? And many of us actually admittedly said, budget? No. Yeah. The budget is something we expect once a year from the government to tell us how they're spending the money, but we don't translate that to ourselves.
I think that's the number one lesson we should gain. If the government is doing it, then I think it's important. If the government does it, we also need to do it. So this is what we are going to do in terms of a budget. Again, get a piece of paper out, or if you're digital, go on your computer, okay? And you're going to write down without figures all the things that per month you spend money on, okay?
Your recurrent expenditures.
Yes, so rent, food, and be as specific as possible. Transport, entertainment. Even entertainment, you can break it down. So don't just write food, write uga, whatever, okay? Be as specific as possible. And then once you're done with that list, a very comprehensive list, go back to the top and say, how much am I currently spending on this item? So if it is rent, 7,000 shillings or 10,000 or whatever it may be, and so on, all the way to the bottom. Okay? And then we start a third column, and now what we are going to do is we are going to go to the very top of that list again and say, if it is rent, yes, I spent 7,000, How can I get the same value in terms of housing for less? Okay? Now this is what you'd call a proposed budget. What are the changes I'm going to make? If it is Sukuma Wiki and I spend 1,000 shillings per month on Sukuma Wiki, how can I move this 1,000 to maybe 500? And you're going to write that. And it's like a target you're setting for ourselves. That way, you don't have a budget that tells you what to spend. It's actually now moving away from budget to spending plan. And you know, spending plan also sounds a bit better than, you know, people feel bad. People feel bad when they hear budget. But spending plan, that's a different story. Because why it's important to do a spending plan? Because money is like you on a Friday evening when you have no plans. If you have no plans, there'll always be someone. There'll always be someone who will call and say, "Hey, Michael, what are you doing? Why don't you come?" And it's the same thing for your money. If you don't plan it, anything goes. And that means that your money is no longer in your control, which is the worst thing.
Is there a universal way of breaking down our expenditures? And the reason I ask this is because I may want to live in a certain area.
Yes.
And it costs so much amount of money. And for me, maybe my drive is maybe my peer. The pressure is coming from my friends.
Yes.
They all live in a certain area. And I want to live in that area, but it costs this much. Now, is there a universal way I can look at my salary and say, in terms of my rent, I cannot go beyond this cap because this percentage is supposed to go towards salary, this is supposed to go towards food.
Yes.
So that now it's no longer me deciding where to live, but my salary is almost telling me, look for these areas now.
Okay. First of all, let's be very careful about peer pressure. That's one of the most expensive things in the world.
Absolutely.
Peer pressure, because they'll always want more. You buy the latest phone, you have to get another one. Let's watch out for that. That should be determined not even by your money, but you have to value yourself and say, this is who I am, I'm comfortable. In terms of universal figures, a long time ago we used to be told 10%, 20, 30. We've come to realize that those are not the way to go. The way to go is the savings. Look at your savings. Say, for example, I want to say I earn 100,000 shillings, okay? It's to say that my goals, my financial goals, or let me even use the word dreams, the things I want to achieve in my life are going to cost 35,000 shillings a month. That's what you put aside first. That's 35%. Actually, in the modern world, the recommended, or as Centonomy, we recommend a minimum of 35% of your salary going towards your life's achievements, your goals. Okay? The rest, you can spend in any way you want. Why? Because all this money is money that is going to other people. It's not building you. It's going to other people. So when we give people that freedom, they can say, fine, I want to live in a high-end area where my friends live. But what's the compromise I have to make? Is it that I live in this area, sorry, I live in this area, but it's close to my job. So I may spend a certain, less on transport, more on rent. Or I want to live a bit further away, maybe out of town, away from my office. The rent is low, but the transport is a bit higher. Those are now personal decisions and issues of personal preference. In the knowledge that all this money is going to your landlord, is going to the matatu, is going to the supermarket. It's not really to you. So take care of yourself first. Pay yourself first. That's what that means. Pay yourself first. Put away the 35%, and then this other money you spend it in the way that that
you adjust it accordingly, given the kind of need that you have. Okay, now once you've drawn the budget and you've seen this is what I'm supposed to spend, what are the areas that one can really cut down on? I know rent is one of those because it's a huge chunk out of our salaries. But what are the other areas that we can also save on?
Of course, number one, rent is big. A report came out a few months ago that people in Nairobi are spending between 28 to 40% of their salary on rent, which is a bit on the higher side. But rent definitely, and here's the thing to ask yourself. There's a big difference between something being expensive and something being good. And once you understand that, what I'm saying is price versus value. A place may be expensive, but it may not necessarily mean it's the best. So people ask yourself the same question. Rent, how can I get the same value as this neighborhood but at a lower cost? Even school. even food, even skuma wiki. So it applies to everything. Even these suits that we are wearing. How can I get the same quality of suit at a lower
better price?
At a better
and Kenyans
price.
are very good at bargaining, so I think that's an area that we'd understand very well. Now, let me cut you short and just take a call from John Irongo, then we'll come back.
Okay.
John Irongo, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hi, Stanley. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I'm really amused by how sharp you are in matters finances.
Karibu sana.
Yeah, my name is John. I'm calling from Mombasa. Yes, I'm employed. I work in a bank.
Yes.
But now you find that, as you are saying, money is never enough.
Yes.
The second week you're broke. And yet it's someone who is earning close to 150,000
yes.
month.
Yes.
So I'm asking people who are employed, if they want to indulge in like a side hustle,
yes.
side business,
yes.
What's your advice on that?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. We'll answer you as you're listening. And Pamela from Eldoret. Thank you, John. Pamela in Eldoret. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, Pamela.
Yeah, I just want to appreciate the program that is being shown on the TV. I have one concern. I'm wondering how much money is enough. And then our person there on the TV was asking, he was posting like money is the root of all evil. Just wanted to make a correction that it's the love of money
that is the root of all evil.
That is the root of all evil.
Okay.
Because sometimes we compromise a few things because we love money so much.
Absolutely.
So it's the love of money that is the cause of all evil.
Thank you, Pamela.
Okay.
Some very interesting questions coming there. John Irongo, first of all, talking about what in Kenya we know as a side hustle.
Yes.
And how one gets into that.
Yeah. So for John Irongo, I had two very strong issues coming out there. Number one, he wants to, we want to enjoy our lives. Okay. You have a salary, which is a pretty decent salary. I think for John is to understand two things. Number one, you have to find ways, and perhaps even painful ways or painful decisions, to say, how am I going to cut some of these things that I'm not really doing? Because it's important to indulge, but it's also we need to be cautious about over-indulging. And we also have to plan our indulgences, not to indulge all the time or as it comes up. Let's plan our indulgences, because as we work in banks, we know that no situation is permanent. We have to plan for one day when I'm not in this bank, how do I still continue to indulge?
But one of the things that John Irongo mentions, which is true, he mentioned that he could be, or somebody could be earning as much as 150,000 shillings. And depending on where you are, that sounds like a lot of money.
Yes.
To somebody else, that's peanuts. They even ask you, why do you wake up, get out of bed for 150,000? But the point here being, despite the amount that you earn, how does one draw the balance between enjoying life and still saving? Because at the end of the day, really, kuna ile kuambia mwili pole. After you've worked the whole month, bwana, lazima uambie mwili pole.
Trust that one, I've had that one many times. People are always, but okay, here's the question, okay? And this is what I was talking about earlier, the comfort zone, okay? Perhaps we need to push our boundaries in terms of comfort. Are we telling ourselves pole too much? Okay, that's the challenge. Are we telling ourselves pole too much? Because I have this saying in our community that you must bleed when you're young, so that later you don't have to. Let us get into that culture of doing some sacrifices now, so that in the next few, say, months or years, we don't have to. Okay? And I really like the way he spoke about the side hustle. It's very important that, say for example, if I spend 5,000 shillings on whiskey in a month, okay? If I were to cut that down to maybe 2,500 and put that other 2,500 into maybe a side hustle that will continue to grow, then I can continue to indulge as much as I would like, because I don't now just rely on my bank. There's also some other extra source of income.
A form of income.
What I'll tell John is, as you're looking for this side hustle, make sure it balances or it fits into your life. Because you know you work in a bank, what are the hours? What would it need from me for this side hustle to continue? So let it fit into your life. And it's the same thing we tell people who come for the Centonomy classes. Let your investments fit into your life. Not everyone will be able to start a business because they are very involved at work. So what kind of investment can I do that fits? That fits in.
All right.
Yes.
We have Pamela from Eldoret who was asking the question, how much money is enough money, and also correcting the fact that it's not money that is the root of all evil, but the love for money.
I really like that, and thank you so much, Pamela, for that. I think I'm gonna just twist that. I'm gonna adopt hers. I like it. It's true. You know, money is not the thing we are working for. There are things that we want to aspire to in our life. We want to travel the world. We want to help our families. We want to educate our children. Those things, we understand that money is just a tool for the life that we want. Just like a hammer. You see, you don't accumulate thousands of hammers and put them in your drawer for the sake of having hammers. You get the hammer and you use it. And the same thing, we don't fall in love with money. Let us be more in touch with our dreams, our visions. I don't know what Pamela wants to achieve. That is what she should be following. And I think that's what she meant by it's the love of the money, okay? And I think that's...
Actually, it's scriptural. It's in 1 Timothy 6:10. But anyway, moving on.
So this is, in relation to enough, it's the same thing. What is enough? I don't think anyone has ever said, I have enough money. Let us not chase money. Let us chase the experiences that money can offer us. Okay? So maybe, for example, for like Pamela, maybe the experience that she wants is to see her children graduate. That's what she works for. Not for the salary or for the money itself. So enough is the money that is enough to cater for your dreams. And the beautiful thing is, when you achieve one dream, another one
pops up.
So you can never have enough money. But if you chase the money, you'll be like one of those rich people who are always sad or angry. But if you chase the experiences, it doesn't matter how much money you have. Even if you have 100 shillings, if it's the experience, there's an experience worth 100 bob that you can thoroughly enjoy. Okay.
Now, there are those who may say that they're not cut out to have a side hustle. Going back to the question of James Irongo. And this might be because their careers, like you mentioned, demand a lot. But there are those careers that demand a lot, but pay little. How do you change that script?
I want to go counter to what people have been told in recent years, that the only way you can create wealth is through a business. That is not true. There are many ways of creating wealth. One of them happens to be business. The other one actually happens to be careers. Okay? We have forgotten that not only do our businesses grow, but our careers can also grow. Actually, there are more people who have created wealth from their careers than from business, if you look at the numbers, okay? So for someone who is thinking career, and they're thinking, I have this great job, but it's not paying enough, I want that person to start focusing on doing several things differently at work. Number one, stand out. Stand out at work. Make sure if you're in a meeting, you always say something. Make sure if your boss knows you very well, make sure you know your boss very well, because that's very important. Remember, your work is to make your boss look good and be happy. That's your job. So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're adding value, noticeable value. So I would tell people, understand how your company or your organization makes money or saves money and contribute to that.
What's that?
Branding is very important. You see, I don't just look sharp mentally, but also the way you dress. Physically. Because people, unfortunately, people judge you by how you look. So if I came to this interview and you are wearing jeans and t-shirts, I would expect a slightly different show. So what does your personal brand say about you? And that is one of the ways that you can get a promotion or look for a new job.
Okay. Let me take a call from Irene Angana in Kisumu. Good morning, Irene.
Morning, sir.
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, I greet the guest, the studio.
Sorry?
I say hi to the guest in the studio.
Okay, he hears you.
Hi, how are you? Okay. My question is this. Is, can he cater for people like us who are small, who are trying to run business? For example, me, I'm a mandazi seller. Yes. But it seems I'm unable to control my money. Prior to that, I had started some other businesses by the corrupt. I start with 10,000. I end up with only 1,000. I can hit at, for example, now the mandazi I make maybe 100 per day. That's the profit. How can I make a budget on that?
Okay. Thank you very much, Irene. Let's also take a call from Mohammed in Wajir. Good morning, Mohammed.
Yes, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Straight to your question, sir.
Fine. I'm calling Mohammed from Wajir County. And thank you very much for bringing the financial advisor, Mr. Ngugi.
Thank you.
The show. And in fact, we said that my question is money has a lot of enemies. There's a lot of enemies for money, and the advisor told us that you have to spend after saving. So now, this all mobile banking and all these networks that now is available everywhere. And I want to ask Mr. Ngugi, how after you finish your budgeted amount and you wanted to keep away from the saving amount, and you don't have any other money, what can you do? How can you take away your money from a far point that you can't stay while your money is in the bank, or you have mobile banking, and you cannot just stay idle without money, because your heart always wanted to get money.
All right.
On the other side, and for the issue of saving, there is mobile banking. Mobile banking has a lot of charges.
Okay, Mohammed, got your question. Thank you very much. And in the interest of time, let's try and keep the answers brief. I think we don't have much time. But Irene Angana, who is a Mandazi small-scale business person, let's call her that, for the benefit of others.
Yes, I love that. By the way, business, especially like those small businesses, Mandazi businesses, they are very good. For her, she should definitely continue, but do it differently. Don't do it like everyone else. Understand, why do people buy your Mandazis and not everyone else's? Okay, is it about location, size, taste, price? Because once you understand why your client buys from you, okay, you are able to sell them more. Remember, you're able to attract the customer you already have better than a new one. So for that person, make sure you understand, and the best thing sometimes is just to ask your clients, why do you buy from me and not everyone else? And they'll tell you, and then you build on that. The next thing, she said she makes 100 shillings profit per day, is to understand that it doesn't matter whether you're making 100 or 100,000, it's still the same. If it's profit, remember to put a good portion of that profit back into your business so that it grows, you make more mandazis. Give yourself a salary and say, my salary per day is 50 shillings. The other 50 shillings is going to the business. Because the business will start growing, and you'll move from 50 shillings, then you pay yourself 100 shillings, and then 2, and then 1,000, and then 10,000 shillings a month or even a day.
So what you need to do, basic thing here is, first of all, do it differently.
Yes.
And understand your customer.
Understand your customer.
And why they're coming to you.
Tell her to pay herself a salary.
Okay.
Yes.
Mohammed brings in a very interesting thing, and this is mobile banking. And you know, somebody once told me that an ATM card, the ATM stands for a terrible mistake, because you'll keep withdrawing. Now, mobile money is even a more terrible mistake, depending on how disciplined you are.
I think you've just, Michael, you just said the key word there is discipline. And if you want to reinforce that discipline, maybe look at the charges. If you look at the mobile banking and the charges, you may have a different question of using it, because sometimes it can be quite expensive. According to our research, it shows that about 10% of our money is going to paying financial fees. Can you imagine that?
Wow. I think I'll have to stop you there, and maybe we'll start from right there next week on your money. Because of time, the director tells me that we're out of time. So thank you so much, Stanley Ngugi from Centonomy. And well, that's where we're going to wind up this particular session of Morning Express on Your Money. But do stay with us. We've got News Truck coming up in just a bit.